I'm glad you're here today because we're trying to start a different kind of conversation in the city of Albuquerque. And let me just start off by saying this. Let me start off by telling you a story of prosperity in my life. My grandfather, dirt farmer, rancher in Nebraska, started his family in 1935. My dad was born on a kitchen table in the middle of a dust storm in the middle of the Sand Hill country, Nebraska. And my grandfather had grown up, with families that make a living off the land, and things got pretty tough back in those days. And he actually had a team of matching Morgan horses that he'd pull a blade with, pull a plow with, and they had a tough time making it. So he pulled a plow for the WPA for a while. And one of his neighbors at one point in time got to the point where he couldn't feed his family, and so my grandfather had one milk cow, and he gave it to his neighbor Gilbert so that he could feed his two young daughters. And he did this for decade after decade. My father grew up, was the first in his family to go to college, first in his family probably to even get to graduate from high school. Went on, and my grandfather continued to work his ranch. And he would love to hunt, and he would love to fish. And he had a couple of old tractors that he'd hold together with, baling wire and duct tape half the time. But he got it done. And when he sold his ranch in the early 1970s, because my grandmother had heart trouble, they had to move to town, which is a town of 2,500 people. They had an auction, and on the wall of my office, in the mayor's office, the only original piece that I have, and the only piece of artwork of any kind that wasn't already there when I showed up, was some photographs of my grandfather and his family with ducks that he had shot and fish that he had caught and deer that they had harvested and hay that they had put up. And when they sold, at the day of the sale, everything that they sold could fit on a place of paper about that big. And he was maybe one of the most prosperous people I've ever known. So when I came to the point in my life where I got a chance to serve in the New Mexico legislature, and I got to go to Santa Fe, and I took my experience as a kid that grew up in the Midwest and came to a big city, and went to school here at UNM. I took my ideas of what prosperity would be like, and I met with other legislators that had their ideas of what prosperity looked like, because at the end of the day, we can question each other's judgment, but our motivations are always the same. We want people to do well. Elected officials, I don't care what party you're from, whatever, people are doing it because they want people to do well. They want people to prosper. But about 2 years into my first term as a mayor, it became really evident to me that if we're going to put forward plans and policies to help people prosper, we better ask people what that looks like for them, because it looks different to everybody. And so much of the policy that gets made, including out of the mayor's office and in Washington, D.C., and at the state, at the Roundhouse and others, come from legislators and others' preconceived notion of what prosperity should look like. So prosperity is only going to college, or prosperity is only making $1 million, or prosperity is only living in a mansion, or prosperity is only that. I think we're missing the boat, and we're missing it by a long way. And it's almost, I don't want to use the word arrogance because that's not the right word, but it doesn't get us in touch with the people that we are here as public servants to serve. So a couple of years ago, I asked the Kellogg Foundation, and Kara Carlisle and her group have been wonderful partners for me in my administration. And I said, I would like to start a conversation that I don't know that anybody in the country is having. And that is a really deep conversation in the community about what prosperity looks like, so that we can hear from those that we serve what they think prosperity is about, so that we can then craft solutions around that, not our preconceived notions, or not about our own personal ideas. So we convened a meeting about 1.5 years ago, and I invited everybody that I could think of to the table that had never been across the table from somebody else. So we always have these dialogues about what does the Chamber of Commerce say, what does Voices for Children say, what do activists say, what do business people say, how does this work? So for the first time, we were able to bring people that traditionally weren't sitting down at the table and having this conversation. What are the challenges for prosperity? First of all, what is it? And then what are the challenges? And it was one of the best meetings I think I've had as a mayor. So we're continuing this process, and like lots of things, it goes slower than I'd like in government to get to the point where we're having these conversations. But where we are today is about 2 years into the making, and we really want to talk to our community about what that looks like. And so we need your leadership. we need to have a really candid and open dialogue about this, and it's not about lowering someone's expectations, and it's not, and when I tell you my grandfather was prosperous, people say you're crazy. God, that's not the definition of dirt poor. But he was prosperous, so it's not just about money. But then if they say, well, Mayor, if you just want to take money out of the equation, well, then you're just trying to lower the standard. That's not the point. You know, New Mexico ranks, you know, very low on the scale of child welfare through the Casey, you know, the report that the Casey Foundation puts out each year. But yet other studies show that we're one of the places in the United States that is most proud of where we are and who we are and where we live, and is one of the happiest places in the country. So how do we get to the bottom of what we're trying to do? Yes, we want our children to graduate from high school. We want our children, if they so choose, to go on to college. But when I was in the state legislature, I met with a group of students at Valley High School. And I said, what's it like for you when you're not going to go forward and maybe go on to college? Or what does this look like from a standpoint as a student? What could we do for you as government or educational system that would help you? And they were in a shop class. And the shop teacher let me, you know, talk to the students unabated for like an hour. It went on for like an hour and a half, I think. And what they told me was, we want to learn more. We want trades taught in the schools again. We want to learn so that we graduate from high school, we get our diploma in one hand, but we can actually go to the pipe fitters union, or we could go to the electrical you know, place, or we could go to the automotive place and actually have a start on this. So we started running Start for Careers. We changed the state law to allow industry taught curriculum in the high schools. And people said we'd never get that done, but it got done. And now we have a program that's being nationally touted. Why is that? It's not because I had some great ideas, because we actually listened. And this is what this is about. So from my perspective as a mayor, come back and really help me understand. You know, we know prosperity is going to look different for different people in our community, from different backgrounds, different socioeconomic strata, whatever you want to call it, from the data side. What we want to hear. And I think, and I don't know anybody else in the country really that's doing this right now. And I think it's something where we could really set an example in Albuquerque of asking those deep questions. And the most important of which, when I was asking some of these students and I asked them what prosperity meant to them, they'd never even thought about it. So that's part of the equation here as well. So I'm really excited about this. I've been trying for a long time to get Hakeem Bellamy to join our administration, and I'm thrilled to have him. Frank Metterball is new to my administration here as well. And I think I have a great team of people put together that can do this outreach that we need to talk about this, so that you could come to the mayor's office. You can always come anyway, but come to the mayor's office with ideas that we can talk to our state legislators and others. We can talk to our congressional delegations about this. And I met with some Pueblo leaders this morning as well, talking about the same kind of conversation. What does this look like for someone from one of the different Pueblos around here, which is probably different than somebody that lives in Tamawan. Okay, so that's too long of a rant, I apologize. But I'm really excited about this opportunity. And I think if we seize this in a way that's meaningful, we could come up with some solutions in Albuquerque that can not only help us statewide, but we can really talk to the nation about and start breaking out of some of these pigeonholes and crafting solutions around what people really want, and then dovetail those into the things that we're already doing that we know work, because there's a lot of that as well. So thank you for your leadership, and I'm excited about this prospect of talking about prosperity. And with that, I didn't use any of my talking points. Oh, the last thing I was going to say is that we've all heard about President Obama's My Brother's Keeper initiative. So I got invited by the White House to be at the White House for the announcement of My Brother's Keeper. So I was there on that day, and there were a lot of celebrities there, and there were a lot of, you know, Trayvon Martin's parents were there, and Al Sharpton was there, Bill O'Reilly was there. It was just like this whole mix of people in the room. So it tells me that the nation's hungry for this discussion as well. So let's do this, and we'll incorporate this into some of the work. We've signed on as an early adopter with President Obama to work on My Brother's Keeper initiative in Albuquerque. I was there from the beginning. We're going to continue that. It's separate from this, but I think the two go together very well. I think we've got a good head start on it here in Albuquerque. So thank you for engaging with us in this really important dialogue, and I really look forward to having this community conversation over the next few months moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to also thank you for inviting me to be part of this work. You know, being now part of the city after 4 years of working for the state of New Mexico, I feel like I'm getting back to helping people on a daily basis. Not that poems don't save the world.